Welcome to Simple Mind Space. I'm your host, and today we're diving into the exhilarating world of effective speaking, particularly in those spontaneous situations that life loves to throw our way. We've all been there, right? Caught off guard, a little panic bubbling up, wondering, what do I say? Well, today we're going to unpack some strategies to not only survive those moments, but to actually thrive in them. Now, you might be thinking, spontaneous speaking? That's terrifying, and I hear you. It's right up there with public speaking on the fear factor scale. But think about it. How often do we actually give planned speeches? Sure, there are keynotes, conferences, maybe a toast at a wedding. But day to day, it's the impromptu moments that rule. It's the quick introduction at a networking event, the unexpected feedback session with your boss, or that lively Q&A after a presentation. So, let's kick things off by tackling the elephant in the room, anxiety. It's real, it's normal, and we're going to learn how to manage it like pros. Think about it. How often have you been in an audience watching a speaker visibly nervous? It's uncomfortable, right? We squirm, we disconnect, and that does the speaker absolutely no favors. Our primary job as communicators, whether planned or spontaneous, is to make our audience comfortable. I'm not talking about sugarcoating things or shying away from tough topics. It's about creating a space where our message, however challenging it might be, can actually land and be received. And that starts with us, the speakers, managing our own nerves. So how do we do that? Let's explore some research-backed techniques that can make a world of difference. First up, let's talk about what happens when those initial anxiety symptoms hit. You know the feeling, butterflies in your stomach, maybe a little tremor in your voice, that sudden urge to disappear. What happens next? We often spiral. We think, oh no, I'm nervous. They can tell I'm nervous. This is going to be a disaster. But here's the thing. Simply acknowledging those feelings can be incredibly powerful. The moment you feel that anxiety creep in, take a deep breath and say, this is me feeling anxious. It's normal. I'm about to do something important. By greeting your anxiety, you stop it from taking over and dictating your experience. Next, let's reframe how we see the situation. Many of us, when we're presenting, feel like we're performing. There's this pressure to get it right, to hit all the right notes. But here's a liberating thought. There's no one right way to present. Are there better ways and worse ways? Absolutely. But it's not about achieving some unattainable standard of perfection. Instead of viewing it as a performance, shift your perspective and see it as a conversation. Even if you're addressing a room full of people, approach it with the same spirit of connection and dialogue that you would a one-on-one chat. Think about how conversations naturally flow. We ask questions, we use inclusive language, we respond authentically. Bring those same elements into your speaking. Start with a question to engage your audience. Replace formal, distant language with conversational phrases. By making these subtle shifts, you create a more relaxed and engaging atmosphere for both you and your listeners. Now let's talk about time. No, not time management, though that's important too. I'm talking about how we often sabotage ourselves by focusing on the future consequences of our speaking. We worry about what people will think, whether we'll stumble over our words, if we'll get the outcome we desire. All of these fears are rooted in the future. The key is to ground ourselves in the present moment. This might sound a bit zen, but trust me, it works. There are countless techniques to bring your focus back to the here and now. Physical activity can be incredibly grounding. A quick walk around the block, some stretches, even just focusing on your breath can shift your attention away from those anxious thoughts. Music is another powerful tool. Create a playlist that energizes you or calms your nerves. One of my favorite techniques is tongue twisters. It sounds silly, but saying a tongue twister forces you to be fully present in the moment. Plus, it warms up your vocal cords, which is an added bonus. The point is to find what works for you, to develop a pre-speaking ritual that helps quiet those racing thoughts and allows you to step into the moment with more confidence and clarity. So, we've talked about managing anxiety, reframing our perspective, and grounding ourselves in the present. Now, let's dive into the heart of spontaneous speaking. To navigate these situations effectively, we need a roadmap, a framework to guide our responses. This is where structure comes in. You might be thinking, structure? In the middle of spontaneity? That seems counterintuitive. But here's the thing. Our brains love structure. We process information more effectively when it's organized. Think about how we remember phone numbers. We break them down into smaller, more manageable chunks. The same principle applies to communication. Having a framework in place allows us to focus on the content, on what we want to say, without the added pressure of figuring out how to say it. It's like having a mental outline that keeps us on track and prevents us from rambling or going off on tangents. Let's explore two versatile structures that can be applied to a wide range of spontaneous speaking situations. First, we have the classic problem-solution-benefit structure. This is a highly effective approach, especially when you're trying to persuade or advocate for a particular idea. You begin by outlining the problem or challenge, then present your solution, and conclude by highlighting the benefits. For example, let's say you're at a team meeting and your boss unexpectedly asks for your input on a project that's facing some roadblocks. Instead of panicking, use the problem, solution, benefit structure to frame your response. Start by acknowledging the problem. It seems like we're facing some delays in getting the necessary approvals for the project. Then, present your solution. I think we can expedite the process by reaching out to key stakeholders directly and addressing their concerns. Finally, highlight the benefits. By taking a more proactive approach, we can get the project back on track and deliver it on time and within budget. See how this structure brings clarity and organization to your response? It's concise, persuasive, and easy for your audience to follow. Next, let's talk about the what. So what, now what? Structure. This is a fantastic framework for answering questions, giving impromptu presentations, and even introducing people. Let's break it down. What? This is where you state the facts, provide context, or introduce the topic at hand. So what? This is where you explain the significance, the relevance, or the why behind the what. Why should your audience care? Now what? This is your call to action, your next steps, your recommendations, or the takeaway message. For example, imagine you're at a networking event and someone asks you about your work. Instead of launching into a long-winded explanation, use the what. So what, now what? Structure to craft a compelling response. Start with the what. I help businesses develop their brand strategy and create a strong online presence. Then explain the so what. In today's digital landscape, it's more important than ever for businesses to have a clear and consistent brand identity. It's how they attract customers, build trust, and stand out from the competition. Finally, conclude with the now what. I'm always happy to connect with businesses and discuss their specific needs and how I can help them achieve their goals. Here's my card. See how this structure allows you to deliver a concise, engaging, and memorable response. You've provided context, explained the value, and ended with a clear call to action. These structures are incredibly valuable tools that can empower you to communicate with greater clarity, confidence, and impact. Practice using them in various situations, from casual conversations to formal presentations. The more you use them, the more intuitive they will become, and the more prepared you'll be to navigate those unexpected speaking moments that life throws your way. So there you have it. We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring strategies to manage anxiety, reframe our perspective, embrace structure, and deliver compelling responses in the heat of the moment. Remember, effective spontaneous speaking is a skill that can be learned and honed with practice. Embrace the challenge, step outside your comfort zone, and watch yourself transform into a confident and engaging communicator. And that's it for today's episode of Simple Mind Space. I hope you found these tips helpful and insightful. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more empowering content. Until next time, keep those minds curious, those hearts open, and those words flowing.